My security badge beeped red at exactly 9:14 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday in Portland. I stared at the scanner confused. A second swipe, then a third. My stomach dropped before my brain caught up. I was locked out of the building I had helped transform from a struggling data analytics firm into a national market leader. "Ms. Dalton!" A soft voice came from behind. A slender woman from HR1 I barely recognized stood holding a manila folder. Her rehearsed smile didn't reach her eyes. "Can you come with me?" I followed her through a side entrance, past the curious looks of people I'd mentored over the past 8 years. She led me into a small, sterile conference room. My nameplate was gone. My personal items were already packed into a cardboard box. My company laptop was nowhere in sight. "Effective immediately, Altavis Analytics is terminating your position as Chief Operating Officer," she said, sliding a stack of termination documents across the table. Through the glass wall, I caught a glimpse of Darren Westbrook, the CEO, turning away. Sitting at my desk grinning was Ava Carmichael. She was fresh out of business school, half my age, and Darren's golfing buddy's daughter. I had spent the past month training her under the impression she was a temporary intern shadowing operations. "Security will escort you to your car," HR added flatly, checking her watch. I walked out holding my box eyes, burning, heart pounding. My name had already been removed from the internal directory. I sat in my car for nearly an hour, watching through the glass as someone popped a bottle of champagne. Celebration for what my removal 8 years. Gone in 15 minutes, Ava had joined the company just 5 weeks earlier. I'd walked her through internal systems, introduced her to top-tier clients, and taught her every process I'd developed. Just yesterday, she'd asked me, "What's that screeny thing again?" while staring blankly at a pivot table in Excel. Now she was laughing at my desk. My phone buzzed texts from stunned colleagues. "WTF happened? Did you quit?" Then the message that broke me. "Melissa told us you were let go for performance issues. Said she didn't know the old lady was so sensitive to feedback." I drove home in silence, vision blurred by tears. For days, I didn't leave the apartment. Delivery boxes piled up. My phone died under a couch cushion, and I didn't care. Shame, anger, betrayal. The emotions rolled through me like storms. I had stood by Darren during every crisis, when his marriage crumbled, when the board nearly fired him after the 2020 crash, when I secretly covered for him during his leadership retreat, which was rehab, after his DUI. I'd restructured our entire company during COVID to keep us afloat. Now my legacy was being erased. The Westdale contract I'd spent 9 months securing, now credited to Ava, the Griffin merger. Suddenly Darren's brilliant strategy. The betrayal hurt, but the erasure, that was worse. The morning my sister used her spare key to check on me, she found me on the living room floor, surrounded by crumpled performance reviews, framed awards, and a half-eaten container of takeout lo mein. "You need to shower," she said flatly. "Then we're getting you a lawyer." "What's the point?" I muttered. She stared hard. "You're 43, not buried. Didn't you negotiate some clause in your last contract?" My head snapped up. The clause. How had I forgotten? After a long shower and 3 strong cups of coffee, I finally felt my brain engage. I tore through my home office, flipping through binders and folders until I found the original contract. It was from 2 years ago, right after I'd saved Altavis Analytics from a PR nightmare during a product recall that nearly tanked the company. I had leverage back then. The board knew I was entertaining offers. Darren Westbrook had begged me to stay dangling empty promises of more equity and a board seat. I'd accepted, but on my terms. With help from our former legal counsel, I'd embedded a protection clause deep in the document. There it was, Section 23, subsection C. It spelled out that if I were terminated without documented cause and a replacement was appointed within 45 days, all of my equity would vest immediately. Plus, I'd be owed severance equal to 2.5 times my total compensation. And if the termination involved any ethical violations, those numbers would double. My hand shook as I read it again. My equity was valued at $4.2 million. My annual compensation, $850,000 in dollars. They hadn't even waited 36 hours before putting Ava Carmichael, unqualified and untrained, into my role. I looked at my sister. Remember that employment lawyer you mentioned? By the next morning, I was sitting in the corner office of Elena Vasquez, whose reputation stretched across the entire West Coast. Her firm had taken down tech giants twice the size of Altavi's. When I'd first called her assistant, said the next available slot was 3 weeks out. But the moment I mentioned Darren Westbrook and Altavis, I had an appointment at 9:00 a.m. the next day. Start from the top, Elena said, skipping small talk. I handed her the contract performance reviews in a flash drive containing glowing client testimonials and project metrics. Her face remained impassive until she hit the clause. Her brow arched slightly. "You wrote this yourself?" she asked. "With help. Their lawyer tried to cut it, but I held firm." She gave a slow nod. "Most people underestimate the power of precise language. This isn't just a severance clause, Miss Dalton. It's a nuclear option." I blinked. "What do you mean they replaced you within 48 hours? No documented concerns. That hits both Trigger's timing and ethics. They owe you roughly $19.4 million plus full equity vesting." 20 minutes later, she sent an official notice to Altavis's board. Darren's reply came within the hour. "This is blackmail. We'll fight it to the end." Elena leaned back and smiled. "Let them try. There's something you need to see for yourself," Elena said, motioning me into her office. She handed me a thick printout of an email chain. My eyes scanned the header. Darren Westbrook and Gordon Carmichael. Ava's father. The earliest message was dated 3 months before my termination. "Just confirming our arrangement," Gordon wrote. "Ava starts next month, shadows the current COO, then transitions in by quarter's end." Darren's reply made my stomach knot. "Perfect. The current COO is getting too expensive anyway. She's been lobbying for that board seat again. This solves both issues." My jaw clenched. A second folder held screenshots from Altavis's internal messaging platform. Darren had created a private Slack channel named Transition Team. It included himself, Ava Gordon, and 2 board members notorious for rubber stamping anything he pitched. If you found strength in this journey, subscribe to the channel, not just to follow what happens next, but to stand with those who rise after being pushed aside. The next chapter. "You won't believe who comes knocking." The messages were cruel casual in their malice. Darren had another chat with the COO about the board seat. "Think she's finally getting the hint. It's never happening." Ava. "Can't wait to redecorate that corner office. So drab." Gordon, "Just hang in there, princess. Smile and nod until she's out of the picture." The most recent thread. Dated the morning I was escorted out of the building. Ava, OMG. "Did you see her face when security walked her out priceless?" Darren, Ava. "Be careful what you put in writing, Ava." What's she gonna do? Sue us with her feelings? Probably post some crybaby rant about glass ceilings and ageism. Total dinosaur. Gordon. "Just keep things quiet for 45 days and we're in the clear." "She'll move on." I turned to Elena, stunned. "They knew about the clause." She nodded. "This proves malice, conspiracy, intent. It's the perfect storm. What's our next move?" "We go public. Today." Elena's formal trigger letter was a masterpiece, clinical, brutal, and airtight. She attached the email chain, the Slack messages, and cited every clause they violated. The final page detailed my claim, $19.4 million plus full equity vesting due in 14 days. She sent individual copies to all 9 board members, bypassing Darren entirely. The fallout was immediate. 3 board members scheduled closed-door emergency meetings. Altavis stock dipped 3% as investor chatter speculated on executive turmoil. Darren responded with a company-wide memo forbidding any discussion about my departure, which only fueled more questions. By day 3, reporters were calling. A financial blog published a headline that exploded online countdown. At Altavis is a $20 million clause about to wreck the C-suite competitors smelled blood. By day 7, I got a text from Thomas Blackwood, an independent board member I respected. "This is deeply troubling. We never saw those communications. Can we meet privately?" Elena approved. Thomas arrived the next morning, looking pale and exhausted. "I had no idea," he said. "Darren told us it was a mutual decision." He never mentioned the clause, or that Ava had been chosen in advance. He confided that the board was now divided. 4 wanted to settle immediately. 3 stood behind Darren. And Ava, she's tanking the Westdale account, he added. They're threatening to walk. On day 10, it all blew wide open. Someone, likely a board member, leaked everything to TechCrunch. By noon, Jai Altavis, Crisis, and Ava Carmichael were trending. And that was only the beginning. A parody account called Green Desk Girl lit up Twitter with screenshots of Ava's Slack messages paired with her self-congratulatory LinkedIn posts about being a visionary tech leader. It caught fire. Former Altavis employees began sharing their own stories how Darren repeatedly replaced experienced women with his golf buddies' sons or college roommates' daughters. Current employees, speaking anonymously, revealed that several of my projects had been rebranded in internal systems under Ava's or Darren's names. The Westdale account, which I'd personally built from scratch, issued a public statement they were reassessing their relationship with Altavis due to concerning leadership changes. Within 24 hours, 3 more major clients followed suit. Altavis's PR team tried to spin it. They called the leaks misrepresentative and heavily edited. Darren posted a corporate memo saying he'd been let go due to strategic differences and promised an internal review. Nobody was buying it. By midnight, Altavis stock had dropped 12%. My phone buzzed endlessly. Colleagues, old clients, industry reporters. A respected tech journalist DM'd me, "I'm covering this story. Would you like to go on record?" I thought about every late night, every missed holiday, every time I held the company together while Darren spiraled. "Yes," I replied. "It's time I speak my truth." I finally drifted to sleep around 11:30 p.m., the first full rest I'd had in weeks. At exactly midnight, my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally, I'd let it go, but something told me to answer. "Hello." Darren's voice came through tight with restrained fury. "This has gone far enough. Call off your attack dogs. Retract your demands. You're destroying the company you claim to care about." I sat up. "No, Darren. You destroyed it when you conspired to replace me with an unqualified nepotism hire." "Be reasonable," he snapped. "I'll offer 6 months severance and a glowing reference. This can all go away quietly." I exhaled slowly. "It's a little late for quiet, don't you think? The board has seen the evidence. The public has seen it too. You leaked those emails. Do you realize what you've done to Ava? She's receiving death threats." That gave me pause. I never wanted harm. But then I remembered her laughter as I was escorted out her smug messages, the office she decorated before I was even gone. "I didn't leak anything," I said truthfully, "and I won't apologize for defending myself. You knew about the clause. You ignored it. You'll ruin your reputation," he hissed. "No one hires a whistleblower. Better that I said than someone who stays silent while being exploited." I hung up. At 7:30 a.m., I sat in Elena's office watching texts from Thomas roll in. 8:07 a.m. Darren trying to limit board attendance. Secretary objecting. 8:23. Full board insists on staying. Darren looks awful. Blaming you. 8:41. Chat logs. Projected. Claims taken out of context. 9:02. Ava's crying. Blaming culture. 9:30. CFO showing projected damage. Stock down 18% pre-market. 9:47. Vote called to remove Darren. He's stalling. Then silence. 10:04 a.m. Vote complete. 7:2. Darren removed. Interim CEO is Rodriguez. He's being escorted out now. I finally exhaled. Darren Westbrook was gone, but my vindication was just beginning. At 10:17 a.m., Thomas sent one final update. Ava Carmichael, still in position pending review. Gordon threatening legal action if she's removed. Darren's removal felt like justice, but it was only half the battle. Ava remained COO shielded by her father's influence and a few lingering loyalists on the board. That afternoon, interim CEO Maria Rodriguez reached out through official channels. The offer full payment of the $19.4 million clause with all equity vested on the condition I sign a non-disclosure agreement and drop any further claims. It was generous. I could walk away rich and free. But something didn't sit right. "They're buying your silence," Elena said. "It's the standard playbook, pay the whistleblower, sweep the rest under the rug, and throw a woman into a high seat to save face. But the system stays broken." I thought about Ava's smirks, her mocking Slack messages, her total lack of qualifications. I thought about all the women who'd been erased before me. "I need time," I told Elena. That evening, a padded envelope appeared at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a USB drive labeled with one word, peasant. My stomach turned. When I opened it, I found hundreds of screenshots, messages from Altavis's internal platform, all post-termination. Ava in her new role referring to staff as peasants and worker bees, bragging about firing a project manager simply for asking a clarifying question, dismissing HR concerns, boasting about power. I forwarded it all to Elena. She called within minutes. "This is explosive," she said, "but we need to be smart. We didn't leak everything. Not yet. Instead, we carefully selected the most egregious examples, ones that showed Ava's treatment of employees, not just her insults toward me. We sent them to 3 trusted former colleagues still inside Altavis. No fanfare. Just a subject line, FYI, protect yourselves. What happened next snowballed beyond anything we imagined. The screenshots spread internally like wildfire. Within 24 hours, Altavis's Slack channels went dark. HR saw a sudden spike in people calling out sick. Morale collapsed. Then, someone not me posted the worst screenshots on Twitter. Green Desk Girl picked it up. Then tech news sites, hashtags like #peasant_revolt and #Altavis exodus began trending. Ava panicked. In a disastrous move, she sent a company-wide email claiming the screenshots were fabricated, accusing me of cybercrime, and promising legal action. Her email leaked within the hour. Altavis's PR team scrambled. Maria issued a public statement promising a full investigation and a commitment to a safe, respectful workplace. That evening, Thomas texted, "Emergency HR recommends Ava's termination. Too much damage. Board vote tomorrow." Elena replied with a single popcorn emoji. The next morning, the board vote was unanimous. Ava was terminated. The press release cited leadership incompatibility. She received a modest severance, nowhere near what her father had envisioned, and was escorted from the building much as I had been. Days later, Ava rebranded herself as a digital transformation consultant. Her LinkedIn bloomed with inspirational quotes about growth and resilience. But the internet remembers. Every job application she submitted met silence or polite rejection. Recruiters who once courted me, now they called asking about Ava. And though I never spoke ill of her, my silence said everything. The screenshots had been archived across multiple tech industry forums. Ava's peasant comment had become an inside joke throughout the startup world, referenced in memes, Slack emojis, even conference panels about toxic leadership. 3 weeks after her termination, I received a LinkedIn message from her. "Ava Carmichael. I know we had our differences, but this has gone too far. No one will hire me. Daddy's connections can only do so much. Could we talk? Maybe you could tell people it was a misunderstanding." I read it twice. Her mocking tone in the leaked chats echoed in my mind the ones where she joked about redecorating my office before I'd even been walked out. I didn't respond. I closed the message and moved on. That same afternoon, Elena called. "The board just approved the full payout," she said. "Clause and equity, everything. You'll see the funds hit your account tomorrow." With Darren and Ava gone, Altavis began the long, painful process of rebuilding. Maria Rodriguez was competent, but she had inherited a mess. Clients were hesitant, investors were nervous, and worst of all, employees were leaving fast. First, it was the senior leadership people I had worked beside for years, now disillusioned. Then came the mid-level managers. Then the rank and file. LinkedIn lit up with open-to-work banners. Coffee shop meetings with competitors surged. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Former colleagues asked for references, advice, guidance. For the ones who had remained professional or tried to do the right thing, I gave honest, glowing recommendations. Several landed new jobs quickly. But for those who had celebrated my ousting or enabled Darren's backdoor deals, my responses were civil, but cold. I didn't lie, but I didn't lift them either. One evening, Maria called me directly. "I know this is unorthodox," she began carefully, "but we're bleeding talent. People trusted you. Would you consider consulting during this transition? Name your price?" I almost laughed. "I appreciate the offer, Maria," I replied. "But that chapter is closed. We're trying to build something better, more ethical, more transparent. I truly hope you succeed," I said honestly, "but I can't be part of it." That night, I poured a glass of wine and opened my financial dashboard. Between the clause payout, my equity, and the silence bonus, my net worth had climbed to nearly $25 million. Then came Sophia Lynn. She wasn't just another investor, she was a legend. Known for backing women-led startups that challenged stagnant giants, we met for lunch at her private club overlooking the Willamette River. "Altavis had a brilliant platform when it launched," she said, sipping sparkling water. "But they stopped evolving. The market's ready for a shift." I tilted my head. "And you think I'm the one to do it? You built their COO dashboard system, didn't you?" I nodded slowly. "I did. On weekends. It wasn't part of my official scope." Sophia's eyes gleamed. "Then it may still belong to you." "My legal team found no IP assignment. That architecture. It's your foundation now." She slid a folder across the table. Inside, $10 million in seed funding for 20% equity. Me as founder and CEO. "Why me?" I asked. "Because you're not just talented," she smiled. "You're motivated. And revenge builds empires." Altavis responded swiftly. Their legal team sent a threatening letter claiming that my startup Lucent Tops violated non-compete clauses. Elena fired back instantly. In a precise, scathing rebuttal, she pointed out that since they had terminated me without cause, the clause was unenforceable. The letter quoted case law and even their own HR documentation. Altavis backed off, at least publicly. 6 weeks later, they pivoted to a new strategy competition by imitation. They launched Altavis Vantage, a hastily rebranded version of the COO dashboard I'd developed. It looked flashier, but underneath it was shallow. They offered extended free trials and cut pricing to slow client loss, but the market saw right through it. Tech sites tore Vantage apart. One influential blog published a side-by-side comparison titled "Altavis Vantage versus Lucent Tops, Why Knockoffs Never Win." Reddit went wild. Anonymous Altavis engineers exposed how Vantage lacked the data integrity, scalability, and architecture of my original design. Lucent Ops, on the other hand, just worked. Comments poured in. "This feels like when your little cousin tries to remix your science project. Vantage is clunky. Lucent Ops is intuitive. There's no contest." By the third month, 12 major clients had switched to Lucent Tops, including the prized Westdale account. Our demo waitlist got so long, we had to hire 5 new sales reps just to manage demand. Altavis' Q3 earnings call was brutal. Revenue fell 22%, while costs skyrocketed due to rushed hiring and panicked client retention efforts. Worst of all, they'd lost 17% of their enterprise clients. Lucent Tops was named in multiple analyst reports as the direct beneficiary. The stock tanked 11% overnight. Financial media pounced. Altavis' implosion became a trending headline. Articles cited executive missteps, talent loss, and product stagnation. Shareholders were furious. They demanded leadership changes and answers. At an emergency meeting, Gordon Carmichael, Ava's father, tried to rally support to reinstate ousted board members. His ramble about cancel culture and corporate betrayal was so tone-deaf that even his allies winced. A top investor cut in. Exactly how much was paid to settle the Dalton clause, and who's accountable? The most surprising development came the next day. Not from me, but from Altavis's own shareholders. They filed a lawsuit against Darren Gordon and several former board members alleging breach of fiduciary duty and corporate waste. My clause payout was cited as financial damage caused by nepotism. I focused on scaling Lucentops. Still, every morning, I checked Altavis's stock, watching it slip while our valuation soared. 6 months after his removal, Darren Westbrook reappeared. He'd secured funding and started another company in the same space. His pitch: he was the victim of woke politics and an ungrateful former employee. Then came the smear campaign. He told investors I'd stolen code, that I was under federal investigation, that my settlement was in legal jeopardy. One investor called me directly. "Is it true you're about to be indicted?" I forwarded everything to Elena. She documented every lie. We considered legal action. But Sophia advised, "Let him rant. Every time he opens his mouth, he sells your product." She was right. Darren's sabotage. It built our brand. The smear campaign had the opposite effect. Potential clients began reaching out directly, curious about Lucentops and impressed by our calm, documented responses. We gained 3 new enterprise accounts because CEOs appreciated our transparency and professionalism. The final blow came from a leading tech magazine. The headline read, "The Revenge That Wasn't How. Natalie Dalton Built Success, While Darren Westbrook Built Grudges." The article dismantled Darren's narrative. It praised Lucentops as a case study in resilience and innovation, while painting his new venture as reactionary and mismanaged. A week later, almost 1 year to the day after my termination, his company folded. No products launched, no clients retained, nothing but debt and bad press. Then I received an email from an unfamiliar address. Subject line: "I'm sorry." It was Darren. The message rambled, part apology, part plea. He confessed the new venture had failed spectacularly. His wife had filed for divorce. His assets were frozen amid the shareholder lawsuit. Old friends had distanced themselves. "I never meant for it to go this far," he wrote. "It was supposed to be a simple favor to Gordon. 1 position, 1 promotion. I didn't think it would implode." He asked if I would testify on his behalf in the shareholder lawsuit, or maybe even invest in his next venture. "You always had vision," he added. "You could help me rebuild." I read it 3 times. Was it regret or another manipulation? Elena warned me, "It's a trap. Anything you say could end up in court." Sophia was more direct. "Delete it. He's drowning and reaching for you to stay afloat." Still, I replied, not out of anger, but clarity. "Darren, I acknowledge your apology, but I cannot offer what you're seeking. The consequences you're facing are the direct result of your own actions. Natalie." 3 days later, a financial journalist contacted me citing an anonymous tip. Allegations of offshore accounts used to siphon Altavis funds during my tenure. The implication that I was involved in financial misconduct. I knew immediately who had planted it. Elena brought in a forensic accountant. Together, we combed through every financial report I'd touched at Altavis. My record was clean. But we discovered something else: a trail of irregular wire transfers, small amounts cleverly routed through subsidiaries, ending in Cayman Islands accounts. The scheme predated my time as COO and continued after I left. "This is classic embezzlement," the accountant said, "and it all traces back to Darren." I faced an ethical crossroads. If I stayed silent, I'd be complicit. But speaking up would end Darren's career for good. I chose truth. I forwarded the evidence to Thomas Blackwood and Altavis's new general counsel with a short note: "Found while defending myself. Do what's right." 3 weeks later, federal agents arrested Darren Westbrook on charges of wire fraud, tax evasion, and embezzlement. The news had barely broken when Gordon Carmichael called me. "You've destroyed everything," he barked. "Darren's facing prison. Ava can't get hired anywhere. My standing at the club is ruined, all because you couldn't gracefully step aside." I took a slow breath. "Is that really how you see it, Gordon? That this is about me refusing to disappear?" His silence said it all. 18 months after my termination, I received a call from Gordon Carmichael, Ava's father. His voice trembled with fury. "Are you satisfied?" Now he snapped blaming me for Darren's arrest, Ava's unemployment, and his own social downfall. The old me might have apologized, but I wasn't that woman anymore. I answered calmly. This was never about revenge. It was about consequences. I reminded him that Ava wasn't ready, and Darren gave her a role she hadn't earned. Their nepotism had damaged the company, not me. He threatened that I'd regret it, claiming he still had influence. I responded simply, maybe people should have listened to the ones doing the actual work. After a stunned silence, he hung up. Oddly, I felt lighter. Closure had come in an unexpected form. 18 months later, I was invited to speak on a major tech podcast, coincidentally hosted in the same building as Altavis's old headquarters. I remembered that awful day when my badge stopped working. But this time, I stepped into the elevator in a tailored suit, carrying nothing but confidence. After the interview, I visited the 17th floor where Altavis once buzzed with life. The new receptionist didn't recognize me. I realized I had no reason to be there. The company was still operating smaller, now quieter. But Maria was still leading it with care. 2 years after that red badge morning, Lucentop's reached $10 million in monthly recurring revenue. We served over 200 enterprise clients across 4 continents. Our team of 5 had grown to 112. The press called it tech's most profitable revenge story, but they missed the heart of it. Yes, I was wronged, and yes, I fought back. But our success was never fueled by bitterness. It was built on real innovation, transparency, and trust. While Altavis's value dropped 71%, Lucentop's reached a $820 million valuation. I declined to discuss Darren in interviews, choosing instead to spotlight our product and team. The day we hit our revenue milestone, I took everyone out for an impromptu celebration. Later that night, I received a message from a publisher asking to share my story. I smiled, nodded, and saved the message. I would say yes, just not today. Today was about the people who built something better with me. If you've ever been underestimated, replaced, or told to stay quiet, I hope my story resonates with you. I didn't burn bridges, I built better ones. And if you believe in standing up for yourself with integrity, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. What would you have done? Have you ever faced a moment where walking away meant taking your power back? Remember, your value doesn't disappear just because someone else failed to see it. Let your work speak louder than their bias. And if you're still in the fight, keep going. Quiet strength shakes foundations.